Hey, in this video today I'm going to compare the Paddington movies to the Dolphin Tale movies. In each case, you have only two films. When it comes to highest score for each franchise, with Paddington, the highest score is a 99% for Paddington 2. With Dolphin Tale, highest score is an 81% for the first films. Paddington wins this round, but of course, 81% still a really good score. Then when it comes to the lowest score for each franchise, what's impressive about Paddington is that the first movie has the lowest score and it still has a 97%, which is obviously fantastic. With Dolphin Tale, the second movie, has only a 66%, which obviously is not a bad score. It's still fresh, but it's not fantastic. Paddington wins again. Then when we look at the average for each franchise, you know by now Paddington has a higher average, has an average of 98. Dolphin Tale is an average of 73.5, so Paddington wins again. Then we look at disparity between the lowest and highest score. Again, Paddington wins because there's only 2% difference between 97 and 99. With Dolphin Tale, you have a gap of 15 between 86 and 91. 81, I mean. 81-66, a gap of 15, which obviously is not that big. It's still a little bit higher than the gap for Paddington. So Paddington wins again. Now, when it comes to my personal opinion, honestly, I'm a big fan of both Paddington and Dolphin Tale. I really like all these movies. I can't say there's any one of them that I think is noticeably weaker than the others. They're pretty much even as far as I'm concerned. These are both cases of movies that are just sweet, innocent, heartwarming, that are not cynical at all. There's nothing jaded about any of them. So they're really easy to watch. When I think of what's a movie that I would just throw on, obviously I would throw on Paddington or Dolphin Tale without hesitation. Whereas with Killers of a Flower Moon or Oppenheimer, those are fantastic movies, but they're intentionally heavy and somber. So I'm not about to just casually throw either one of those movies on. They're not quite as rewatchable. No, which franchise do I actually prefer? I think I'm gonna go with Paddington, just because our main character, Paddington the bear, is so likable, endearing, and charming. In fact, if you think back to before the first Paddington movie came out, a lot of people were skeptical because the trailer didn't really make it seem like the movie was going to be very good. They showed that bathroom scene, but then when you watch the actual movie, it plays out much better. I like that we see Paddington the bear is just such an innocent creature that is so pure of heart, that doesn't have a single malicious bone in his whole body. And in fact, he makes everyone around him better. We see that he actually improves the Brown family. He's the one who gets Mr. Brown to lighten up, but Mary accepts him pretty quickly because she's just a very kind person. And also, Paddington is the one who gets Trudy to come out of her shell. Is that the name of a daughter? Judy, actually, is the name. That's right. So, yeah, Judy comes out of her shell, and Jonathan gets to actually play with a rocket with his dad. We see that right at the end of the first film. And then in the second movie, when Paddington is sent to jail for something he didn't do, even though it's not a good situation, even though Paddington was unjustly imprisoned because he was framed for a crime, he still absolutely makes the best of it. He still maintains that upbeat, positive attitude. In fact, we see he makes the prison better. It's one of these things that obviously is not realistic, because you go, well, there's no way a prison in the real world would change like that, but obviously Paddington movies are not trying to be completely realistic, so it makes sense in the world of Paddington that his bear goes to jail. Because of that, actually, the prison turns into this place that's just terrific. Everyone has all this food, people are kind to each other, they're having a good time. We see it, even the prison guards just become more lax because they see that everyone in the prison is so happy. We also see that several of the prisoners, or three of them specifically, Knuckles, McGinty, and two others, actually end up being granted pardon, and they end up actually. Knuckles McGinty ends up opening this shop. It's really heartwarming. The Dolphin Tale movies are absolutely heartwarming as well. It's this inspirational, true story about a dolphin that lost its tail, something that obviously is very important to a dolphin. And yet, despite this disability, Winter actually managed to live a happy life. In fact, it inspired many people, especially ones who had lost a limb, because Winter sent this message of you do not need to think that your life is over because of this disability. The relationship between Sawyer and Winter that we see in the Dolphin Tale movies is just really sweet and heartwarming. Also, I like how we see that Hazel's dad doesn't really like Sawyer at first, but then very much warms up to him. I also like the growth we see from Sawyer's uncle, who ends up suffering an injury while he's out doing his duty. At first, he's really depressed, thinks that there's nothing left for him. But then he realizes, I can still help out Sawyer. I can still be useful. I can be hopeful. I'm not going to let this disability keep me down. So he actually goes back, and we see that he's happy again, especially in the second movie. So I love both Paddington and Dolphin Tale movies. At the end of the day, I think I'm going to choose the Paddington movies just because of how fun they are, because of how likable Paddington is. Well, that'll be it for this video.